For over 3 centuries, it dominated the naval battlefields of the ancient and medieval world. A weapon so devastating, so psychologically overwhelming, so technically sophisticated, that enemies who encountered it for the first time described it in terms that suggested something supernatural. A liquid that burned on water, a fire that could not be extinguished by any conventional means, a substance that clung to wood, to rope, to human skin, and continued burning, regardless of what was thrown at it. And then it vanished, not gradually, not replaced by a better weapon, not made obsolete by superior technology, simply gone. Disappeared from history so completely that the civilization that used it most effectively took its secret to the grave. For over 1,000 years, every attempt by every military power in the world to rediscover what the Byzantines knew has failed. The formula for Greek fire is one of the most consequential pieces of lost knowledge in the history of warfare. Greek fire was developed by the Byzantine Empire in the 7th century AD. The most commonly cited account attributes its invention to a Syrian engineer named Kallinikos, who fled to Constantinople, the Arab advancing the 670s, bringing with him knowledge of extraordinary value. What Kallinikos had discovered, or perhaps inherited from an earlier tradition, was a liquid incendiary weapon of extraordinary effectiveness. The Byzantine emperor recognized its strategic value immediately. What this man had brought across the sea with him could change the course of history. The first major deployment was in the Arab siege of Constantinople. Beginning in 674 AD, the Arab fleet, which had been systematically destroying Byzantine naval power across the eastern Mediterranean, encountered Byzantine warships equipped with siphon devices that projected streams of burning liquid onto the attacking vessels. The results were catastrophic for the Arab side. Ships that had been winning engagements throughout the Mediterranean were destroyed so rapidly and so completely by the burning liquid that the Arab naval offensive was broken. The siege that might have ended Byzantine Empire was lifted because of one weapon. The siege of Constantinople, which might have ended Byzantine Empire and fundamentally altered the subsequent history of Europe, was lifted largely because of this single weapon. One formula, one engineer, one city saved, and a continent's history changed by fire on the water. Over the following centuries, Greek fire remained the most feared naval weapon in the Mediterranean world. Byzantine warships equipped with the projection device dominated every naval engagement in which they deployed it. 3 centuries, not a single enemy could counter it or replicate it. The substance burned on the surface of the water, making it impossible for crews to escape by jumping overboard. It clung to surfaces and continued burning throughout attempts to douse it. Some accounts suggest that water made it burn more intensely. The sea itself beneath the enemy, it could be projected in streams from the siphon devices, or thrown in ceramic pots that shattered on impact, spreading burning liquid across enemy decks. To delivery methods, both catastrophic, the enemy could not know which was coming or from which direction. The psychological effect was as devastating as the physical one. Enemy crews who survived encounters with Greek fire had described a terror that went beyond anything they had experienced from conventional weapons. The sight of fire that water could not stop broke fighting spirits that nothing else had broken, and the Byzantines knew exactly how valuable it was. The formula for Greek fire was classified as a state secret of the highest order, controlled at the imperial level, access to the knowledge restricted to a tiny circle of trusted individuals. The emperor himself, the guardian of the secret. The production process was compartmentalized so that no single person outside the innermost circle possessed all of the information needed to reproduce a complete weapon. A security system centuries ahead of its time, designed to prevent exactly the kind of leak that could hand the weapon to an enemy. The formula was passed from emperor to emperor as one of the most closely guarded inheritances of the Byzantine state. 8 centuries, emperor to emperor, through wars, through succession crises, through palace coups, the secret survived. Protected by discipline and by the understanding what would be lost if it were not. Even allies were denied access. Byzantine Emperor Shu could have strengthened military alliances by sharing the technology, consistently refused to do so. The formula was considered too valuable and too dangerous to share with anyone, regardless of political considerations, regardless of consequences, regardless of pressure. And this extreme secrecy is precisely what led the eventual loss of the formula so complete. The very discipline that kept the secret for 8 centuries was the same discipline that ensured no one outside its smallest possible circle ever learned it. When the Byzantine Empire finally fell to the Ottoman Turks in 1453. The institutional structures that had maintained and transmitted secret of Greek fire across 8 centuries were destroyed. In a matter of weeks, the small circle of individuals who possessed the complete knowledge did not survive on a form that allowed the secret to be passed on. The compartmentalization had protected the formula from enemy discovery, also ensured that no single surviving account contained enough information to reconstruct it, and the formula disappeared as completely as if it had never existed. 8 centuries of deployment, 3 centuries of naval dominance, countless battles decided by it, and after 1453, not a trace, not a fragment, not a working reconstruction, just accounts of what it had done. What we know about Greek fire comes from accounts written by people who witnessed its effects, rather than by people who understood its composition, consistent across multiple independent sources, all describing the same extraordinary properties, the same fire on water, the same unstoppable burning, but they tell us almost nothing about what Greek fire actually was. The effects, documented, the formula, unknown. The weapon is one of the most thoroughly described in medieval history, and one of the most chemically mysterious. Modern chemists and historians of technology have proposed numerous reconstructions. The most widely accepted candidates involve some combination of petroleum products, quicklime, and other reactive materials. Crude petroleum, the kind that seeps naturally from the ground around the Black Sea, known and used in the ancient world. Quicklime originates significant heat when it contacts water, which could explain the accounts of Greek fire burning more intensely than water was applied, not despite the water, because of it. The extinguishing attempt bombing the accelerant, pine resin, turpentine, other organic materials, could contribute to the clinging, burning properties described in the accounts. A substance that sticks to surfaces, penetrates gaps in armor, resists scraping, resists smothering. Plausible, reasonable, but not proven. None of the proposed reconstructions has been demonstrated to fully replicate all of the proportions attributed to Greek fire in the historical sources. Every candidate formula either fails to burn on water with the tenacity described, or fails to project effectively, or fails to resist conventional extinguishing. The honest position of modern chemistry and military history regarding Greek fire is simple. We do not know what it was. We have plausible hypotheses. We have candidate materials. We have partial reconstruction should replicate some of its properties some of the time. The complete formula has not been recovered. Greek fire was not a product of accidental discovery. It was developed, refined, and deployed systematically by an engineering tradition with a deep understanding of the chemical and physical properties of the materials involved. Applied chemistry, practiced at a sophisticated level, without modern science, without periodic tables or lab equipment. The siphon projection system that delivered the weapon was itself a sophisticated piece of engineering, requiring precise understanding flow dynamics, pressure, and the behavior of the burning material under projection conditions. This was not a simple flamethrower, it was precision engineering serving precision chemistry. The production of Greek fire at the scale required for sustained naval operations required consistent, reliable chemical processes that could be reproduced to the same standard across multiple production facilities. This was not artisan chemistry. This was industrial chemistry. 300 years before Indian gave it that Nemesis is the pattern that keeps appearing across every domain of ancient and medieval technical knowledge. The knowledge that mattered most was the knowledge most carefully guarded, and the knowledge most carefully guarded was the knowledge most completely lost when the civilization shut. Guarded it fell. Roman concrete, transmitted through workshops and engineering practice rather than written texts. When the workshops closed, the knowledge went with them. The Antikythera mechanism, concentrated in a small number of specialized craftsmen. When those craftsmen dispersed, the tradition ended. Greek fire was deliberately restricted to the smallest possible circle to protect it from enemy discovery. When that circle was broken by conquest, the formula died with it. In each case, the secrecy or informality of transmission that protected the knowledge during the civilization that possessed it became the mechanism of its destruction when that civilization fell. The Byzantines were not careless with their greatest military secret. They were extraordinarily careful. They maintained the secret for 8 centuries, against the intelligence efforts of some of the most sophisticated military powers in the medieval world. They succeeded completely in preventing any enemy from discovering the formula, and when they fell, their caution ensured that the formula fell with them, rather than passing to their conquerors. The Arab force that finally took Constantinople in 1453 did not inherit Greek fire, they inherited ruins. And somewhere in those ruins was the last physical evidence of a chemical knowledge that had shaped history. Byzantine chroniclers writing in the years bear the fall described Greek fire as one of the gifts given by God to the Christian empire for its protection. They believed the secret had been divinely granted, that its preservation was a sacred responsibility. Perhaps that belief contributed to the extraordinary discipline with which it was maintained. What it could not protect against was the end of the empire itself. The formula is still lost, the reconstructions are still incomplete. The weapon that broke the Arab siege of Constantinople and preserved the Byzantine Empire throughout its most dangerous centuries remains one of the most significant pieces of unrecovered technical knowledge in history, somewhere in the chemical properties of the materials available. In the ancient Eastern Mediterranean, the answer is still there, waiting in the behavior of petroleum and quicklime and organic compounds that have not changed in the 1,000 years. Since the last person knew the complete formula carried it into whatever came after the fall of Constantinople. We just have not found the right combination yet. Or perhaps more accurately, we have not yet been willing to commit the serious scientific resources to finding it that the question deserves. A question that shaped 3 centuries of Mediterranean warfare, left on the shelf interesting historical mysteries. Finding the formula will not just answer a military history question. It would reveal the depth of Byzantine applied chemistry. It would demonstrate a command of reactive materials that the conventional picture of medieval technology does not credit. And it would add one more entry to the list of ancient capabilities have been underestimating. For 3 centuries, no enemy could find an answer. The most sophisticated military powers of the medieval world, Arab caliphates, Norman fleets, Viking raiders, Crusader navies, all encountered it. All were defeated by it, not one managed to replicate it. Not one managed to counter it effectively. What does it tell us? That for 3 centuries, the best military engineers of the medieval world, working from recovered examples, from captured Byzantine sailors, from every intelligence source available, could not discover the formula. It tells us the chemistry was genuinely sophisticated, not lucky, not simple, sophisticated. The secrecy surrounding Greek fire may be the most successful technically protection operation in the history of warfare. 8 centuries, multiple enemy superpowers. Enormous strategic incentive to discover it. Unlimited resources devoted to the attempt. And complete, total, permanent failure. Nobody got it. Nobody came close. The price of that perfection was that when the empire fell, the secret fell completely. No partial knowledge served to give future researchers a starting point. No defector had taken in auto allow reconstruction. No captured technician had known in auto describe the full process. The protection was total, the loss was total. The formula for Greek fire is the most consequential piece of lost knowledge in the history of warfare. A weapon that changeth history of Europe, that preserved a civilization for 8 additional centuries, that no enemy could counter, and that vanished so completely that 1,000 years of effort has not recovered it. The answer is still there, in the chemistry, in the properties of petroleum and quicklime and organic compounds, unchanged since the Byzantine engineers first combined them into a weapon that changed the world. We just need to find the right combination. We just need to take the question seriously and not a look. Somewhere in the ruins of Constantinople, after the Ottoman force entered in 1453, lay the last physical evidence of a chemical knowledge that had shaped the military history of the Mediterranean world for 3 centuries. Nobody knew what to look for, nobody knew what was there. And by the time Ian thought to look, it was already gone. The most powerful weapon in medieval history, used for 3 centuries, then lost completely, not stolen, not destroyed. Lost through the ordinary mechanism of a civilization's fall, and the extraordinary mechanism of a secrecy so perfect that it protected the secret from everyone, including the civilization that came after. For more ancient mysterious and hidden histories, stories of what human beings were capable of long before we gave them credit, subscribe and keep exploring. Because the most powerful weapon in medieval history was used for 3 centuries, then lost completely, and nobody has been able to get it back. Until next time, stay curious.